Hello, everyone. How was lunch? Lunch was pretty amazing. Good, good, good. All right, well, we are back on track, no pun intended. So we are now going to when you have a home printer and then things come out of order, it's always fun. Okay, so we are going to be talking about limited admission strategies versus public health. And so we've got two speakers here today. We have Amy Jo Seitz. She began her shelter career in 2004 as an office supervisor. She was promoted to deputy director in 2011 and became director in 2016 of Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control. She holds a bachelor's in criminal justice and a master's in public affairs, along with the CAWA certification in animal welfare. Amy Jo has testified before lawmakers to strengthen laws on cruelty, neglect, and exotic animals in Indiana. She aims to expand community resources and advocate for animals in need. Outside of work, she enjoys family time, concerts, theater, outdoor activities, running, reading, and facilitating ziplining and climbing events for the Girl Scouts. Yay, this is Amy Jo. I'm going to go ahead and read Rebecca Stevens' bio as well. She is the president and CEO at the Humane Society for Hamilton County, where she has led the organization since 2005. With 34 years of experience in both the nonprofit and corporate sector, she has a proven track record in team management, marketing, business development, fundraising, and event planning. Before joining the Humane Society for Hamilton County, Rebecca worked at EGIX Inc., Nextel Communications, and PacWest Racing Group. She holds a marketing degree from ISU, a certificate in nonprofit fundraising from the IU School of Philanthropy. She was born and raised on the east side of Indianapolis, and she's lived in Fishers for 25 years with an undisclosed number of rescue pets.
Thank you very much for having me. Today I have been asked to talk about municipal shelters and their legal obligations. So there are some misconceptions out there as far as what municipal shelters are, what they do, and why they do what they do. So hopefully I can try to clear that up for you. All right, so there are some key functions for municipal shelters. I will dive a little bit deeper into Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control, and that's just because it's what I do, it's what I know, and it's where we live. So, however, when we're talking about municipal shelters, the biggest thing to keep in mind is that they do have specific roles in their community. The first and foremost is always public health and safety. We are responsible to ensure that our public is safe, not only from animals, but also diseases, especially when you're talking about rabies control. We are responsible for animal intake, whether it be they're lost, they're stray, they're sick, they're injured, or they're even unwanted. So that is one of the other responsibilities as a municipal shelter, We have a lost and found program. Most municipal shelters do, where we work to try to reunify them with their owners through microchips, through IDs, through Facebook posts, all of those factors. So moving on from there, we have rabies control. We specifically, as far as Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control, have a contract with the Board of Health for our community. So we are responsible for ensuring quarantines, rabies inoculations are being done, sending labs the specimens for testing, not to go into too much detail for those of you that aren't familiar, but rabies control is predominantly why municipal shelters were even founded. So if you didn't know that, that is one of the primary purposes of an animal control entity, was to catch these stray animals that could potentially spread rabies to humans. Fast forward into current day, we are also responsible for the enforcement of all animal-related city ordinances as well as state statutes. No matter where you are in your community, if your animal control is there, they do have the authority to do state statute charges. So I have local ordinances which are pretty robust. If you're familiar with Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control, you know that we probably have one of the largest chapters of ordinances. I've had several individuals contact us like, hey, do you have an ordinance about this or that? Usually the answer is yes, we do, and it's pretty detailed. We are also responsible for providing sheltering services to those communities that don't have it. So for example, the city of Fort Wayne obviously is where I'm at, but we are inside Allen County. Allen County does not have their own shelter, so they contract with us to bring their animals to us. Same for the city of New Haven. New Haven is just like a little community outside of us. They wanted animal control, so they contracted differently. They said, we want your officers in our community as well as being able to take the animals to your shelter. So again, that is a primary purpose predominantly for municipal shelters. Everyone does it a little bit different, but you really have to dive into what is their role, what is their responsibilities, and who oversees them. The other factor that municipal shelters deal with is population management. How do we do that? We're looking at spay-neuter assistance, we're community outreach programs, adoptions and foster, transfer options. We're trying to create those relationships, right, to get more animals out the door. And then of course, pet retention. We ultimately want pets to be safe in the homes that they are loved in. So we want to keep those pets in there if and when all possible. So what's our role? So I told you, I warned you, I'm going to talk about Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control, but I'm not here to tell you that this is the only way to do things. What I'm hoping to do is to provide you some opportunities to think about your shelter and go, maybe we could do things a little bit differently too. So what we didn't do, sorry, I flipped too fast, I'm supposed to elaborate here. We went through an assessment a few years back, and the reason why we went through this assessment is because we were like, you know what, we're doing pretty good. You know, we're starting to see a decrease in our overall intake, and you know, we have some programs that are in place and they're doing okay, but maybe we should invite a third party into our shelter and tell us how we could do things maybe a little bit better. There was a big movement that was happening during that time frame, and one of the things that we were suggested to do as a municipal shelter was to stop taking in strays. We were told that we should do them by managed intake. My immediate answer was absolutely not. We are a government facility. We are a government facility, and our main purpose is public safety. The last thing I'm going to do is to tell someone, I'm envisioning like, you know, an 80-year-old woman bringing in like a 70-pound dog that she has no history on, going, good luck, I hope he doesn't bite your face off. So we don't do that. However, what we do allow are people to do what's called a found report. So they're like, you know what, I really do want to keep this animal. It's been okay with me. Sure, no problem. You're going to fill out a found report. You're going to let us know where you live. And if there's any problems, our officers are going to come and get that animal from you at any point in time. It doesn't have to come to the shelter. For those of you that know, if you are the municipal shelter, especially if you're open admission, we want to be the last option for you to come to. But if you are coming to us, I'm not going to turn you away. Because by the time you get to my doors, you're saying, I'm done. I can't do anything else. I don't want to do pet retention. I don't want to do the training. All the rescues are full. The limited admission shelter just can't take my pet right now, and I can't wait. So guess what, folks? That's why we are in existence. This is why a municipal shelter exists. We are your last stop. We didn't create the problem. We are the end result of a multitude of issues within various communities. Okay, off my soapbox. Okay. So our ordinance responsibilities. So one of the things, first line of my responsibilities as a municipal shelter in Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control is I have to take in sick, injured, and unwanted. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter their behavior, it doesn't matter their age, it doesn't matter anything. They come to me from within Allen County, my answer is yes. Immediately followed up with, as long as you understand that we can never guarantee a live outcome. We will do our best, but we cannot guarantee a live outcome. With that being said, not to do the shock value, we took in over 11,000 animals in 2024, which is down considering that when I first started in 2004, we were taking in 17,000. So 11,000, we're like, woohoo, this is great. But it's not, right? We still have an uphill battle. And no matter how many rescues or brick and mortar shelters we work with, it is not fair for me to expect them to take all of that. It's impossible. We have to start at a more root level. Why are they coming in, right? So our ordinance responsibilities are pretty straightforward. We are looking at cruelty and neglect cases. My officers, we have 11 field officers, a case investigator, a field coordinator, my deputy director of field operations, and myself that all have police commissions to uphold and enforce all city ordinances as well as state statutes. Between all of my crew, they investigated over 22,000 calls of services last year alone. Of that, we had, let's see here, 32 cases that went to the prosecutor's office for state and misdemeanor charges. Yeah. On top of the 946 cases, these were just cruelty and neglects, guys, that went in front of a city magistrate for ordinance violations. We have things such as limited animal ownership. We also have habitual animal offenders where we will take animals away for permanent life if possible, depending on the egregiousness of the cases. So those are all falling within our ordinance responsibilities. On top of the bites. Our bites are ridiculous. Some of the bites that we're seeing now are intentional. These animals mean business. And as a public safety agency, I am not going to put that animal back out in the community because that is a liability to me as well as to everyone else that lives around it. There are no magical, I'm sorry, I don't want to say no. There aren't enough unicorn homes out there that just need a big farm to play on with no other animals, no kids, and no neighbors, right? Can we all agree? Yes. So let's be real. We have to make tough decisions, and my team makes tough decisions every day. Our primary goal is to make the best possible outcome for every animal that we see, but anything that leaves our shelter must be behaviorally and medically sound. That's our number one rule. All right, so we are their voice. I kind of talked about it already as far as what our caseload looks like. So I just pulled up some stats from last night. The officers that were on duty, they ran over 45 calls for the day. So that doesn't seem like a lot. It's actually a lower season for us when it comes to calls. Now, when we get into the summer, they're going to be running anywhere from 25 to 30 per person. So that's a lot. That's a lot. Now, what affects municipal shelters? Our legal obligations. I've been preaching this already. So we have different hold periods. A lot of people don't quite understand that. I don't want to necessarily get into the nitty-gritty about it, but let me give you a for instance. Any animal that comes into my shelter today, we have to hold it for 3 business days. That means the first business day doesn't start till Monday. So it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Wednesday at the end of business is when we legally own it. That's when we can start our assessment period. That's when we can have our friends and partners come walk through and say, ooh, I want to assess that dog, or ooh, I can take that, or nope, that's not going to work for our program, because that's a reality too, right? I'm not going to give all my crappy dogs to our partners, because will they ever partner with us again? No. We have to form those relationships and respect each other. The other limitation we have is housing. Those numbers that you see on that screen right there, real quick, dogs 125, cats 180, and small animals 20, that is our max capacity. That means no one is getting portalized. That means no one's getting a full run. That is half kennels all day long. I do not want to get into that headspace. That is horrible for my staff, it's horrible for the animals, and I'm not doing that. We're trying to give them as much opportunity as we can for them to show us our true behaviors. So that would be a max capacity for us. The only way we are setting up temporary kennels in our hallways or in our offices is if we have a large scale impound. That is not daily life for us. We can't. It's not fair to my staff and it's not fair to the animals. Other challenges of municipal shelters. These are internal and external factors, okay? So this isn't just me, as far as Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control, this is everyone as far as municipal shelters go. Number one, there is a huge lack of affordable veterinary services out there. They're out there, but there's not enough. Like, there's not enough appointments, there's not enough spaces, there's not enough vets. We all know it, right? And it's not any one responsibility, it's not any one agency's fault, it's just the reality of it. There's just not enough services out there that people can actually afford. Then we're looking at pet-friendly housing. Well, that's annoying. There's not enough pet-friendly housing out there. There are good pet owners out there that can absolutely live in an apartment and not tear it up. But unfortunately, that exists. There's also a lack of adequate space to house beyond legal holds. That's us. One of the things we get criticized about mainly is because that dog just needed more time. Well, sure. If I had space, people, and time, absolutely, I'd be able to give more dogs more opportunities. But the reality is, I don't. We're a revolving door, because I can't say no. The other factors that we have to look at is the inability to deny access. I can't say no, so they keep coming in. Lack of transfer partners to balance the volume. We have a lot of good partners. We have a lot of good individuals and organizations that reach out to us, that pull from us, but they have to look at their capacity for care too. My volume is way too big for them to be able to be our savior, to be our fixer. It's not real. So what do we have to look at on top of that? I have surrounding shelters outside of our community that have limited or refused access to animals. They don't take care of their own backyard, unfortunately. So sometimes those animals come to us. Legally, I'm not supposed to take them in. Legally, I'm supposed to turn them away. But I know the reality. If I don't take them, where are they gonna go?
Exactly.
So I'm not doing that. Lack of ordinances, state statutes to limit breeding, number of animals, etc., and lack of enforcement outside of our community, that affects all of you guys. And pet owners' unwillingness to commit. So internal and external factors. So what do we do to fill the gaps? We rely on our community. They are our eyes and ears, they are our donors, they are our sponsors, they are our adopters, our fosters, our volunteers. They are the ones that kind of keep us going. Well, how do you do that, Amy Jo? Because you're a municipal shelter. Well, I have some ordinances that protect some donor funds. Everything that you see on the screens there, all the medical, everything medical, so just FYI, real quick for my people that are like, oh, but you're municipally funded. Sure, I get $5,000 a year towards vaccines. Everything else, guys, everything else medically is the euthanasia solution because it is cheaper to euthanize. So instead, we raise money. And our medical fund is what gives them the flea treatment, the skin treatments, the spay-neuter surgeries, the amputations. All of that is through donor dollars. Our education program, our outreach, our pet retention services, our foster program, our adoption program are all funded by donations, not the city. Because the city does not feel that those things are a government responsibility. And, sorry. And unfortunately, most government facilities have the same edict. So we have to look at that. So again, how do we fill those gaps? We're looking at our partners, we're looking at our donors, we're looking at those partnerships that we can try to make things better. These are just, it's our stats page. So to give you an example, this is just cats, dogs, and small pets, right? So 10,628 just for those. The rest of the number that I told you, we had 1,300, I think 1,300 wildlife that came in, which is, again, our government responsibility for sick or injured. But 6,464 were stray. Over 61% of our intake is stray. Our reclaim, meaning people that actually claim their pets, 1,765. We adopt out about 30%. Our transfer partners take anywhere from like 6 to 10% of our animals for our live outcomes. And the other animals, we are not, FYI, we do not euthanize for space. It's medical or behavior reasons. That's what we're doing. So it's not for space, but there's still a big chunk there. So we still need more help. That's just a org chart. I have some amazing staff. I have 47 full-time people. I have 5 part-time people. I have 12 seasonals. And I could not be up here promoting what we do without the amazing staff that I have. I am truly blessed. Real quick stats, because I know that I have a partner that's coming up here to talk about her end. Just a little tout. We are servicing the city of Fort Wayne. We are servicing the city of New Haven. We contract with Allen County, which is unincorporated Allen County. You already know our numbers, over 11,000 animals. We run our officers from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. 7 days a week. So there's 11 field officers that respond 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. 7 days a week, holidays included. They don't get that off, unfortunately. We also have animal care specialists in our building. We have 8 of them that work 7 days a week. So we have some pretty awesome staff, but those officers also take emergency call-outs. We have dispatchers. I have 7 dispatchers. They took in 44,000 phone calls last year. And by the way, my dispatchers only work Monday through Friday. So we're busy. And maybe you're looking at me going, oh my gosh, you're like 10 times bigger than me. But you know what? I'm still something that you can look at and go, wow, could we do maybe a little bit of what they're doing to help our community? That is me.
Come back up.
Alexis, is this one? Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can use your own.
It's fine. Testing.
You can take it out.
Not necessary. Yeah. It is. Thank you. All right, everybody, can you hear me okay? All right, can you hear me in the back? Can you hear me in the back? This isn't,
These are not.
it's on.
Can you hear me in the back?
All right, I don't know if I can, I'm so quiet. So, you heard everything that Amy Joe had to say, and so I'm not going to actually go through how the Humane Society for Hamilton County is structured. I'll talk a little bit about that in the next presentation, but basically we do all the same stuff that Amy Jo just covered, with the exception of we don't employ the actual law enforcement officers. That function actually is with all of our law enforcement agencies within Hamilton County, and so we're a bit unique, and I'm going to talk about those business models, but the reality for us is that we are responsible as the singular Humane Society and animal control facility serving Hamilton County to be what Amy Jo described in the first 7 days. Our whole period is 7 days. And then kind of imagine shifting gears into being a humane society and doing the kind of programming and things that a lot of what Amy Jo was also doing. So a little bit different setup, but very similar. What I was tasked with was something that ended up becoming a very eye-opening experience for me. Sherry wanted me to kind of explain managed intake and how that began and what does it mean and how is it being implemented and what are the consequences of some of these policies. So that's going to be my focus. I apologize, the PowerPoint 101 rule is don't put a bunch of words on a screen, but I wanted to be able to send you home with the content so you could read through it, and you'll have that to go through if that's something that you'd like to do. But the first thing I did was, obviously, I went to the website. I went to Best Friends website because they're one of the key groups that are advocating for managed intake across the United States. And so who better to define it? So I was basically a little bit surprised because everything that I read here and what I'm going to show you that was defined by Kristen Hassan, Outcomes Consulting, which works very closely with Best Friends, they both mirror each other in that managed intake, by their definition, is really focused on the diversion of owner-surrendered pets. Okay, so a lot of focus on how to provide alternatives and support and resources to keep owned pets in their homes. Makes sense, totally get it. We both do, Amy Jo and I, we do diversion programming. We want to keep owned pets in their homes too. It talked about scheduling intake, and again, it's scheduling appointments for owner-surrendered pets primarily. Trying to change your hours of operation. It's trying to basically take a little bit more control over your business when space is a premium. What it doesn't say is anything about how to really handle the Good Samaritans in your community who are finding strays. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But the one thing that they did talk about is the common concern and misconception about managed intake and the fact that it's not taking in the animals that are at the greatest risk. It's about abandoning animals or causing packs of dogs to be running in the streets or public safety issues. You know, it's not about that. So Kristen Hassan, Hassan Consulting, as I mentioned, has been a close partner with Best Friends in their effort to visit shelters across the country and participate in something called an embed program. So I looked up her website and I wanted to understand what her philosophy was. And this is what she described managed intake to be. So you're assisting struggling pet owners, again, owner-surrendered pets. You're being transparent with the public that if they do leave their pet, they might be euthanized. It's about keeping pets in their homes, working with overwhelmed caregivers who have too many pets, owned pets and community cats, getting spayed and neutered and vaccinated. It's about trying to schedule appointments for non-emergency intake. And it's using something called the Finder to Foster program that Kristen Hassan created that helps to encourage, or as she says on her website, invites the finder to consider taking the stray dog or cat home with them for basically the hold period that is associated with your community. So for us, it's 7 days. In Indianapolis, that's 4 days. She's very clear, though, about what it isn't. Like managed intake, she says, is not supposed to be about turning away animals, putting animals back where they were found, re-releasing them where they were found. It's not about trying to, have these packs of dogs causing public safety issues. It's not about forcing people to keep pets they don't want to take home. It's not about allowing sick and injured animals to suffer on the streets. It's not about failing to address public safety. It's not any of those things, according to the expert who's visiting your shelters across the country and helping you implement managed intake. How are Good Samaritans impacted? Well, this is the finder to foster piece. You invite the finder to hold the dog, for example, for a short period of time, typically the hold period, associated with your community, and then they bring it back. You ask the finder to take steps to go out and put flyers up, and you post them online and social media, and you do your part to try to find that owner. You're asking finders to do something other than just bringing them directly to the shelter. And it's important that they understand why that's critical. Finder to foster, and this is really, I thought this was really interesting because I think